She was screaming at the wheel, kicking the inside of the door, slamming the horn with both fists as her hazard lights blinked wildly into the wet night. Cars passed her by without even slowing, splashing muddy rainwater across her expensive boots as she stood helpless beside the stalled BMW, her makeup smudged and her eyes wide with panic. But I saw her. I saw her like no one else did, trapped, angry, scared, and utterly alone. And I couldn't walk away. Not this time. I'd been sleeping under the abandoned overpass by 9th and Walker, tucked beneath a ripped brown tarp with holes like bullet wounds. The rain had started early that morning and hadn't let up once. Everything I owned was soaked. My backpack, my blanket, my old boots with the soles peeling off. But I still had my hands. I still had a heartbeat. And that night, I had the sudden, crazy feeling that I was exactly where I needed to be. The woman's car was stuck half in the flooded curb lane, one wheel sunken into a pothole that looked more like a crater. She was dialing furiously on her phone, shaking it like it had betrayed her. I crossed the road barefoot. My boots had finally given up on me that morning, wading through freezing water up to my ankles. She didn't see me coming until I knocked gently on her driver's side window. What the hell? She jumped and flinched backward, eyes wide, scanning me. Her mouth open like she was about to scream. "I'm not going to hurt you," I said calmly, hands up. "Looks like your back tire's stuck. I can help get you out." She blinked. Once. Twice. "Do you even know what you're doing?" I shrugged. "I used to be a mechanic. Before. I didn't elaborate." She hesitated, scanning me again. I knew what she saw. Ragged beard, dirty clothes, soaked shirt clinging to a frame that hadn't seen 3 proper meals in a row in years. My eyes probably looked like tired pits of shadow. But I held her gaze. Finally, she opened the door. "You really think you can help?" "Not thinking. I know I can." She didn't say thank you, but she didn't say no either. I got down into the freezing water and started working. It was brutal, cold slicing into my bones, mud caking under my nails, the smell of oil and wet asphalt choking my breath. I dug with my bare hands, clearing the wheel well, wedging an old flat rock I found on the curb beneath her tire. I guided her behind the wheel, told her when to press the gas, when to stop, when to turn just enough without spinning. After the 4th try, her car lurched free like a wild horse breaking loose. She gasped. I stepped back, soaked head to toe, teeth chattering. She leaned out the window, stunned. "Wait, how did you?" "Told you. Used to be a mechanic." I tried to smile, but my lips were numb. She got out and looked at me for the first time like I was human. Really looked. "What's your name?" she asked. "Chris." She hesitated again, like she was deciding something. Her expression shifted between suspicion and something softer, something she probably hadn't shown anyone all day. She walked to the back of the car, popped the trunk, and pulled out a large black umbrella and an expensive-looking gym bag. I don't have cash on me," she muttered, embarrassed. "But take this. There's food. A dry sweatshirt. My brother leaves stuff in my trunk all the time. It's clean. I promise." I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to be another story she told about giving to the poor. But I was shivering so hard my ribs hurt. I nodded, murmured thanks, and turned to walk away. "Chris," she called again. "Why'd you help me? You didn't know me." I turned back, standing in the rain like some soaked ghost. "Didn't need to know you," I said quietly. "Just saw someone who needed help. And then I was gone. Or at least, I thought that was the end of it." I had no idea who she really was until the next morning. And by then, everything had already started to change. I woke up to shouting. Not the usual kind. No sirens. No drunken fights echoing in alleys. Not even the thunder of another storm. This was different. Urgent. Breathless. People were gathering by the edge of the lot near the corner bakery, where the baker gave me leftover bread some days when her husband wasn't watching. There were cell phones out, voices whispering in awe. "She's really here." "No way. That's her. Look at the shoes. Why is she here? In this part of the city?" I dragged myself to my feet slowly, still wrapped in the sweatshirt the woman had given me. My skin felt raw from the rain, and every bone in my body ached from sleeping on concrete. But something about the way people whispered made my chest go tight. I crossed the street barefoot, standing at the edge of the crowd, trying to see what they were seeing. And then she stepped out of the black SUV. Her. Same storm-wrecked hair. only dry now and carefully brushed. Same sharp, watchful eyes. But instead of panic or fear, her face was calm, composed, powerful. Two men in suits flanked her as she walked straight into the alley where I usually slept. She stopped right where the tarp had been, where I'd left it when I ran to help her the night before. Someone turned to me, elbowed me in the ribs. "Dude," he whispered, "that's Mariana Blake. Mariana Blake, the CEO of Virex Holdings. You have to know who that is." I didn't. Not really. I mean, I'd heard the name on the radio while standing near convenience stores, some corporate firestorm about real estate, billion-dollar mergers, tech startups. But that woman last night, the one soaked to the bone, screaming at her dead engine, she hadn't looked like a CEO. She'd looked human. She scanned the crowd. Her eyes landed on me, and everything stopped. No one else noticed. No one knew who I was. But she did. She stepped forward, carefully, deliberately, and the crowd parted without a word. Her heels clicked against the pavement like thunder. "Chris," she said. I blinked. "You remember my name?" I never forget the people who show up when no one else does. I swallowed hard. "What are you doing here?" She didn't answer right away. Her jaw worked slightly, like she was fighting something. Then she nodded toward the back seat of her SUV. "Get in." "What?" "Get in the car. I'm not going anywhere." "Look, I don't know what this is." "I do." She cut in sharply, voice low but firm. "And I don't have time to explain it out here. A few people were filming now. You helped me last night when you didn't have to. You didn't ask for anything. You gave up comfort, warmth, even your shoes. And this morning, I woke up and realized I don't know anyone in my life who would have done the same. Not even the people I pay." She walked closer. "Please, Chris. Just for an hour. I won't hurt you. I swear on my name." Something about the way she said it, like it meant something, hit me harder than I expected. I got in a car. The heat blasted my face as the door shut behind me. Soft leather. Clean air. I suddenly became hyper-aware of my smell, my clothes, the crusted mud under my nails. I sat stiff as a statue as she got in beside me and gave the driver an address I didn't catch. Then silence. I glanced at her sideways. "You're not really going to tell me where we're going?" She smiled, just barely. "You'll understand soon." We pulled into a gated lot 15 minutes later. A towering glass building loomed ahead, its sleek sides disappearing into the clouds. A golden logo shimmered near the top. "Virex. You work here?" I asked, eyebrows raised. She turned to me slowly. "I own this." I stared at her, stunned, and she stared right back. "You saved me in the rain," she said softly. "Now it's my turn." I didn't know it then, but that moment, those 5 words, were about to change the course of my life forever. The elevator ride felt like a dream. I stood there, dripping slightly from the damp cuffs of my jeans, surrounded by polished marble, gold accents, and soft classical music playing through hidden speakers. Mariana didn't say a word as the numbers ticked upward. Her expression was unreadable, calm, but focused, as if her mind was 5 steps ahead of whatever was about to happen. When the doors opened on the top floor, a wall of glass greeted us, an entire city, skyline glittering beneath a gray morning sky. The office was sleek, modern, cold. A woman in a navy suit offered to take my coat, then looked horrified when she realized I didn't have one. Mariana waved her off. She led me into her private office. Massive windows, leather chairs, a table of fresh fruit, untouched, a desk bigger than my entire sleeping space under the bridge. I stood there, not knowing where to place my hands. She turned to face me. "Do you have any idea," she began softly, "how many people drove past me last night?" I didn't answer. 18. I counted. Some slowed down. One guy even rolled down his window to laugh before peeling off. I looked down at my feet. "You were the only one who stopped, Chris. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't even flinch when I looked at you like I expected you to rob me. You just helped." I shifted uncomfortably. "Wasn't that big a deal. To you, maybe. To me." She sat on the edge of her desk. "It was everything." I looked up at her. "Why are you doing this?" She hesitated, and then said something I didn't expect. "Because I know what it feels like to be invisible." That shut me up. She continued, eyes distant now. "I grew up with nothing. Single mom. 4 kids. I didn't have running water half the time. But I worked. I clawed my way into college, into internships, in a boardrooms full of men who smiled to my face and tore me apart the second I left the room. And somewhere along the way, I forgot who I used to be. Her voice cracked just slightly. Last night reminded me. I didn't know what to say, so I just asked the simplest question I could think of. So what now? She stood. I want to offer you something. Like what? Money. She shook her head. Dignity. Purpose. Something no one's given you in a long time. She walked over to a cabinet and pulled out a folder. Inside was a security badge, a clean ID with my name and photo. How she got that, I had no idea, and a printed contract. I stared at it like it was a bomb. You're hiring me? I said, stunned. She nodded. Maintenance. Entry level. We'll start there. You'll have access to the locker rooms, showers, food, a proper uniform. You'll be paid weekly. You'll have a roof over your head. But there's a catch. Of course there is. You mess up once, you lie, steal, disappear without warning. It's over. I won't protect you. I won't coddle you. This isn't charity. I looked up at her. Why are you doing this for me? Her answer was so quiet, I barely heard it. Because someone once did it for me. There was again, kindness. The kind that didn't come with strings. The kind that shattered whatever walls I had left. I didn't trust it. Not yet. But I took the folder. I'll prove I'm worth it, I said. She looked me in the eye. I know you will. That was the moment the ground beneath my feet began to shift. I didn't know yet that I was walking into a storm even worse than the one from the night before. A storm with secrets, betrayal, and shadows that reached far deeper than I ever imagined. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just about a job. It was the start of something much, much bigger. The first week was a blur. Waking up on a real bed, taking hot showers, eating food that didn't come from dumpsters. Every bit of it felt like I'd stolen someone else's life. I kept waiting to be thrown out, for someone to accuse me of sneaking in or pretending to be someone I wasn't. But each morning, I'd swipe my new ID, walk through the sleek glass doors of Virex Holdings, and nod to the security guard who now greeted me by name. Chris Maddox. Maintenance. Floor 1 to 32. The uniform fit tight across my shoulders, but it was clean. The badge clipped against my chest like a heartbeat. I'd mop floors, fix light fixtures, restock break rooms, and try to ignore the stares from the office workers who still saw me like a smudge on the glass. But Mariana? She never looked at me that way. She checked in on me once during that first week, briefly, quietly, just a glance as I refilled the sanitizer dispenser near the conference lounge. A nod, a look that said, "You're doing good. Keep going." And that look, it meant more than anything I could explain. But on day 9, something shifted. I just finished scrubbing out a broken Keurig on floor 16 when I stepped into the elevator. I was alone, until the doors opened at 18. A man stepped in, tall, impeccably dressed, but something about him felt off. His smile was too polished, his posture too stiff. He didn't press a button. He just looked at me. "You're the one she picked," he said. I blinked. "Sorry." He smirked. "You don't have to play dumb. I know exactly who you are. The wet dog from the alley. The golden boy of the hour." I stared at him. "I'm sorry, Dewey. You don't need to know me," he said sharply, his smile gone now. "But I know Mariana. I've known her for 15 years. We've built this company from the ground up. And trust me when I say, she doesn't do anything out of kindness." My stomach turned. He leaned in slightly. "She's using you, just like she uses everyone." The elevator stopped. He stepped out without a glance back. "Enjoy the ride while it lasts, Maddox," he called over his shoulder. "It'll end just like everything else she touches, broken." I stood there frozen, the door closing again behind him. My gut burned. Who was that man? I found out later his name was Barrett Vale, Chief Financial Officer, Mariana's right hand. And according to the whispers I started picking up around the break rooms, he'd been acting strange ever since Mariana's late-night breakdown 2 weeks ago. The night she disappeared from her penthouse, abandoned a board meeting, and came back dripping wet, talking about making things right. That night, my night, something wasn't adding up. The deeper I looked, the more cracks I saw beneath Virex's shiny surface. Locked floors, security logs erased, a strange file labeled C3-9, buried deep in the old network servers I had access to while running system updates. Files with time-stamped video loops. Of Mariana, of Barrett, of me. I started to feel watched. One night, after most of the building had emptied out, I stayed late under the pretense of repairing a faulty sensor on 431. I slipped into one of the tech storage rooms, heart pounding in my chest, and pulled up the access logs again. There it was. My name. Logged on floor 40. The thing was, there was no floor 40. Not on any map. Not on any elevator button. But someone had been up there. And somehow, I had too. That's when it hit me. Someone was messing with the logs. Or worse, someone had brought me there. Wiped my memory. Or maybe, I closed the laptop, heart racing. The air felt colder. This job, this second chance, it wasn't a favor. It was bait. And I'd walked straight into the trap. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the blinking ceiling light in my tiny apartment, the one Virex had provided. Every sound made me flinch. Every shadow felt heavier. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever I was tangled in, it wasn't just corporate politics. This went deeper, dirtier. Something Mariana had buried. Something someone wanted to keep hidden. And somehow, I was the fuse. I showed up early the next morning, trying to act normal, running checks on the water filters, and restocking the janitorial cart. But the moment I passed security, I felt it. People whispering, glancing. Something had changed. And then I saw Mariana. She stood at the far end of the executive lounge, speaking quietly with Barrett. Her face was cold, her arms folded tight. Barrett was red-faced, animated, leaning in close with that same smirk he wore in the elevator. When he turned and walked away, she stayed there, still, silent, her jaw trembling. When she noticed me watching, she held my gaze. And then she nodded, once. I followed her to the stairwell. She didn't say a word until we were alone. You saw the logs, she whispered. Didn't you? I hesitated. Why is there a floor 40? She didn't answer immediately. She pressed her hand against the wall. And to my shock, a section of the panel clicked. A narrow door opened, revealing a hidden elevator panel with only one number lit up. 40. Come with me, she said. We rode in silence. When the doors opened, I felt like I'd stepped into a memory someone tried to erase. The walls were unpainted. Dust hung in the air. Half the floor was lit by bare bulbs strung across the ceiling. Desks sat empty. Cabinets locked. She led me into the center room. And what I saw stopped me cold. Photos. Stacks of them. Every one of them was of homeless individuals. Names. Faces. Data. Locations. Mine included. I stepped back, breath caught in my throat. What is this? Her voice shook. It was supposed to be a research initiative. A reintegration program. We tracked long-term homeless individuals, those with work histories, degrees, or technical skills, and planned to offer them structured rehabilitation. I greenlit it 3 years ago. I turned to her, rage building. So, I was just part of the test. No, she said quickly. It got corrupted. Barrett twisted it, turned it into a surveillance program. He diverted funds, buried the files, wiped the public records. I only found out after I disappeared that night. The night you pulled me out of the gutter. I stared at her. I was on the verge of collapse, she whispered. My board was trying to push me out. Barrett was planning a takeover. That night, I drove into the store to clear my head and got stuck. And then you showed up. She stepped forward. You didn't see a project or a case study. You didn't look at me like a file. You looked at me like I was worth saving. You reminded me of who I was before the power, before the suits and silence and deals. Tears slipped down her cheek. I'm sorry, Chris. For all of it. I turned back to the photos. My fists clenched. You want to fix this? I asked, voice low. I do. Then let's burn the whole damn lie to the ground. And we did. That week, Mariana leaked everything. The hidden project, the altered files, the secret funding diverted by Barrett. She resigned publicly, took full accountability, named every person involved. Then she held a press conference, not as a CEO, but as a survivor. Of greed, of shame, of forgetting where she came from. She turned over the entire reintegration program to a new nonprofit, funded by her own severance, and offered me the first leadership role. Not janitor, director. And I took it. We transformed that data into outreach, found every name on those folders, and helped them back into the world. Housing, therapy, skills training. One by one, they came out of the shadows, just like I had. Barrett was indicted for fraud and embezzlement 6 months later. And me? I walk into work every morning with clean clothes, a warm office, and people who look me in the eye. But I never forget where I came from. I still walk through that alley on rainy nights, still carry extra food in my bag, because sometimes it only takes one act of kindness to set a wildfire of change. And I remember the rain. I remember her voice. You saved me. No, we save each other.